She's from the Artistic Edge Gallery in Sacramento. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Have any of you been to Artistic Edge? Okay, yeah, I played there. Well, I'm Kathy, I'm the owner. I'm on my 15th year of owning the gallery and the frame shop. And
Right away, would you tell us where it is?
oh, it's in Sacramento at the corner of Fulton and Alta Artist. So down the street from the mall and right by the hospital.
Kitty corner from Target.
Kitty corner from Target. That's the landmark. So the strip mall has no curb appeal, whatsoever. There's nothing you can do about it. We've tried to ask if we can paint this wall a mural. No, you can't do any of that. But it's all been word of mouth, 15 years, word of mouth. And it's grown quite nicely. I've been able to expand 5 years ago. So we have artist studio spaces that are rented out and working artists there. But let me see what I was going to say. Just to give you a little background. Artistic Edge is my third business, and I have no background in art or framing. I started in business. I had a billing and bookkeeping business for 20 years. And then I had a Curves Fitness Center franchise for 5 years. And I had sold both of those, and my husband and I are on a cruise. We've always bought art when we travel. We've bought art, on all of our travels. We love art. So we're at this art auction on a cruise, and my husband's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do next? It's like, I don't know, And he goes, you should open a frame shop. I said, I know nothing about framing. He goes, oh, it's easy, So when I got back, I started searching. And this particular spot was for sale, and it was a frame shop, a very old frame shop. Nothing, it was all manual, a foot chopper, a hand mat cutter. All the orders were written, no computer whatsoever. So I'm like, okay, so I spoke to the owner and I said, I'm a pretty quick learner. I said, do you think you would stay on and teach me how to frame? And he's like, yeah, no problem. He was pushing 80. And I said, okay, so bought the shop. Day one, working with him, I was in love. I found my passion. It was amazing. My other two businesses made quite a bit of money. This one makes the least amount of money, but every day I'm happy, pretty much 98% of the time. There's a couple occasionally that you get a cranky customer or something happens, but I'm as happy today as I was the first day I stepped in that shop. And I just love designing. I love framing. I love seeing art from all over the world. Even in Sacramento area, the artists are so unique and different. So then I started hosting artists. So besides the studios I rent in the back that the artists rent, every quarter I host 4 new artists. It used to be every month up until COVID. And a little bit, thank God for that, in a very small sense, because I didn't realize how much energy I was putting out every month to take down a show, put up a show. I mean, that's 3 days of work every month. And it doesn't give the artists enough viewing time that is showing, because we have customers that might come in monthly, but we also have customers that come in, every 6 months, every quarter. So at that moment, I started hosting every quarter, and it seems to be a good fit. Enough time for the artist to have some representation, enough time for our customers to see the art. So that's worked out well. Let's see what else I want to say. Okay, so I want to talk about the importance of framing. So many of my artists who, of course, have never shown or are very new will come in and, you know, they'll bring their framed works. And I don't mind if your framed work is a ready-made frame whatsoever. But when you show up with scratched frames, dirt in your mat, I mean, it just devalues your artwork right then and there. So how you present your work is really important. You can do it fairly inexpensively, and I definitely suggest when you're an artist and you're trying to sell your work, if you're not already established, that you do go as inexpensively as you can, but you still have to make your work presentable. And I always say, if you can frame, let's say you pick up a dozen Michael's frames and your work goes in there, as long as they're not scratched and marred, that's perfectly fine. But if you can have those displayed and then you custom frame one piece that's at a higher end, a different value, you know, people can see what it might look like, right? And I tell you, 70% of the people that buy art reframe it. So yeah, why would you spend a lot of money framing your work? And they're going to toss the frame. And that's why you kind of go simple, white, black, beige. You know, that's why when you see a show, you'll have a lot of the same colors because people don't want to put a lot into it. And especially if you don't know how to work with color. And it's really, what I found really interesting, because I knew nothing until I learned framing, and then it took several advanced classes, that a lot of artists have no idea about framing. I mean, it's two separate entities. They can paint and do their work beautifully, but come to frame it, they have no clue of what goes with what. And I have had some horrible looking pieces, not of art, but of framing. And it really, if you don't do it right, it just devalues your work. So I would say when you're going to show your work, make sure it's clean. No dirty mats, no scratched up frames. Make sure your color palette's right. And that's why it's just easy to say, if you're not good at framing and you don't know your color selection, stay safe and neutral, you know, black and white. But I brought in some samples, six images framed 6 different ways. Same image framed 6 different ways, right? They're all correct, but they all appeal to different people. So you might have someone come in and they want a tiny mat, you know. Okay, here's a tiny mat that works, right? It's really about preference at this point. So when I take them in to where I have these showing.
Excuse me, Kathy, can you show to Zoom land when you show to us?
Oh, okay, thank you. So here's a small one. So if somebody has a small space, you know, they love this frame, but they have a small space. So we need to make the frame appropriate. Is that showing right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's good. And then we just point out all the different elements, you know, on this piece. So we have a fillet, we have a suede mat, and then we have the frame. We have museum glass on this one. So in framing, there's so many elements. You've got your paper mats, your linen mats, your suede mats. Of course, fillets I love, but they're expensive, you know? So if you're framing to sell, you're probably not going to do fillets. then you can do, a lot of artists will do bottom weighting, so your mats are the same on 3 sides and bottom weighted.
Bottom weighting.
So bottom weighting is when your bottom mat is larger. They used to do it all the time. A lot of photography as well does bottom weighting. I like to bottom weight when I have some long vertical pieces. It just gives the length a little more notice.
I can't tell any difference about the bottom.
That's interesting.
Yeah, different status to it, yeah.
You see, you got like 3 inches and you got 1
Oh.
and a half.
Oh.
Yeah.
We used to
But I like
do
it.
that.
Nice.
Found
I like
holes.
you, man. That's why I was looking
No. And,
Yes, okay.
and a lot of you probably, when you're using a ready-made frame, you don't have even borders because you're fitting your piece to this ready-made size. So your sides might be 3 and your top might be 2 and your bottom might be 2. That's not a huge deal unless it's really noticeable, and then it kind of takes your eye away. And then when you custom frame, you can do kind of some cool cutouts, right? A little bit more unique and different, a little more personalized. There's 1,000 we can do, but this one too has. The mat's not just straight rectangular. We've got some curves to it, or angles to it, which really lend to the angles of this roof line, right? And texture and 3 mats.
That nice little strip of red.
Yeah. When you're working with color, some people love color, and there's nothing wrong with color as long as you don't overshadow your work with the color. A lot of people want some bold color in there, but if it takes if you're looking at a piece of work and your eye goes right to the mat or right to the frame, then it's wrong. If your eye goes to the frame and starts coming in, you're okay, or you start at the image and go out, no problem. But if you're looking at that piece and all you can see is the frame or the mat, then it's not correct. Because you want to view your art. Now we have on the canvas side of it, stretch canvas. You can see them right here. Well, 2 of them. Just stretched hanging on the wall, nothing wrong with that. You want to elevate it. About probably 60% of people who frame canvas will frame in float frames. So you have this negative space around it. A contemporary look. There's a handful. There's not a lot of choices when you float frame. There are some. There's probably 40 or 50, but there's not 500 float frames. And then you can go traditional as well. So same image again. It is a canvas, but now we've got linen liner and frame. So my job as a framer is to make sure the framing goes with your piece and with you or your home, if you're the one purchasing it to hang in your home. So we have many choices we can do, but it is a cumulative effort, because maybe I'm laying out this green mat that's just stunning, but you hate green. I mean, you're not going to be happy with it hanging in your home if I leave this green mat on there. So it really takes, both parties working together to make sure the piece works and the framing works, and then it gets home. So let's say I have probably had 5% in 15 years, people, they pick out a frame and they come back and they don't like their frame because they really have a hard time visualizing. that's always heartbreaking because, well, there's two reasons it happens. One is, we've decided on this frame, it works, but they get it home and it just doesn't look good. The other is they chose that frame even though we suggested maybe they didn't, and, in the end, the customer's always right. I can tell you what I think, but it's ultimately you're paying for it. It's your decision. So again, luckily, it doesn't happen often. I don't even know if I can say once a year. It's far less than that. But when that does happen, I want everybody to be happy. So we can choose another frame and I give it to them at cost at that point because I don't want to pay twice, even though we had to do the work. Okay, so.
Alec? Oh, no, he went to get his blood checked.
I'm gonna have to do what I want.
Okay.
I'm gonna visit you.
Okay, so those of you, do any of you make the giclees of your work, or do you sell original work?
Maybe one.
Okay,
She
yeah, so giclee is a print of your work, whether it's a print on canvas or a print on paper, it's a print. So, yeah, or paper, whichever you choose, but when you're selling your work, so a lot of artists will make giclees if their family wants one and they don't want to give up their original or something like that. But the process of making the giclee sometimes will be more than what you sell your work for. So then it's not feasible. If you're at the higher end, it is feasible because let's say your work is a watercolor for $900, then you can make a giclee print, after you get the scanning and all of that in, and sell that for, $89. So it gives customers an option if they can't afford your original work. But if you're selling your original work at $200, then, making giclees is probably not going to be feasible for you. And then there's two philosophies of artists I've run into when pricing their work is some of them have the philosophy that I want to price my work so the everyday person can afford it. And they sell more, typically. The other philosophy is I don't want to devalue my work, therefore I'm going to price it higher. Pricing is really the most difficult, and I do not tell my artists how they have to price their work. They price their work how they're comfortable pricing. It's just really, if you don't have a name behind you, and you haven't been selling very long, I mean, you're probably not going to get $1,800 for your piece. Although somebody may walk in, fall in love with it, and spend $1,800. So selling work is right person, right place, right time. But you have to decide what approach you want to take as an artist when you're selling. But keep your pricing consistent. Do not show in a gallery, any gallery, at $800 and then at your own website or a trade show for $300. I mean, that's a gallery owner will not take you if that happens, because yeah, and we put a lot of work into showing our artists. So, and people are human nature. We want to get the best price we can. So they see your work in my gallery, they're going home and they're Googling you. And they're going to see, oh, you have your own website? Oh, can I contact you? So never make deals with people when you're in a gallery to undercut the gallery.
You have a commission.
Yeah,
People.
right. And commission is, most galleries are 50-50. So that's what's hard for a lot of artists, but
So that's gonna change the price.
It shouldn't. So that's what I'm saying. If you have your own website, you should be selling the same, whether you get the full $800 or whether you sell at the gallery and you only get 400. So you have to be,
I should just automatically add that 50%.
You should.
So that I'm covered.
so that you're comfortable. Because that's what, you know. If it wasn't so expensive to run a gallery, we would love to take less, but, you know, otherwise, every artist would open their own gallery, right? I mean, it's about the cost of running a gallery, running a business, is high, and using that space for the artist. So what I'm saying in the representation, if you want to work with galleries, just make sure that you are fair and they're fair. You know, it's a mutual relationship. You never want to undercut somebody, and you never want to, you know, make deals on the side. And but keep your price consistent. Whether you're at a trade show or whether you're at a gallery or whether you have your own direct website. That's number one.
Do you do giclee and artistic edge?
We do giclées at Artistic Edge. However, I would, for my artists that want to do that, if you are an artist and you want to do giclées, I'll refer you to the printer directly, because I don't want to mark up on an artist that's making giclées.
Oh, I see.
We print, like, a customer will bring in a photo of their father and want a giclée printed, right? No problem.
I know it was giclee place. I just wondered if you did that service as well.
We do, but it is marked up, so
Okay.
go directly.
Okay.
Go directly. It's everybody's happier, right?
Okay. Question. When an artist, if an artist wants to come in and show in your gallery, could you probably cover what a gallery's expectation is on framing and presentation? I mean, it's
Right. So people will email me if they're interested in showing. Well, that's what I tell them. Email me if you're interested in showing. Email me 5 images or so I can get a feel for your work. And then if I want to show you, then I will put you on the schedule. Right now, we're booked through 2022. And in July and August, we'll start, probably August, I'll start through this file I have of people that have submitted. And then I'll start booking for 2023. By October, I'm booked out for the next year, each year. So. Okay, any other questions? I think I kind of covered.
What about the glass on the outside? Is there differences?
Yeah, there's many differences. So you have clear glass. So you have reflection control glass. This is reflection control. So it kind of has that matte finish on it. But if you have high glare, it'll diffuse it a lot. Your clear, this is clear. So you can pretty much see yourself in the glass. And then you have museum glass, which is the truest color, but the most expensive. And it has non-reflection properties in it as well.
Does that museum mean also UV?
Well, so your clear and your reflection control glass come with no UV and they come with UV. So either or. Museum is of course only UV. And then with each of these selections, you have acrylic, which you have the same selections. You have acrylic with museum quality, with reflection control quality, with UV quality. So acrylic is typically more expensive than glass.
What's the difference in price between the highest Zoom grade versus progress?
So in a size like this, you might be $20 or $30 difference. in a size like this, you're probably $100 difference. In a bigger size, then you're $600 difference. Museum glass is expensive, and the bigger you go, the more expensive it is. But it's nice.
You have a Zoom question too, Carrie, if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask.
Oh, am I muted?
I actually had a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Are the only pieces that you display in your gallery are the artists that are renting from you?
No. So the artists that are renting from me are studio artists. They display in their own studio, they can sell in their own studio, they can sell directly. If they're not there, then we'll take the sale and we'll take a small commission. Otherwise, they sell directly in their studio, there's no commission. But we show 4 artists every quarter in the main gallery. And that's what we change.
Okay, so if someone applies to have their art shown there and you're already booked through this year, what can they expect? Do you respond back to them to let them know that, or what is your?
Yeah. I usually respond back that we're booked and I'll keep their info on file and I'll be, deciding in August or so. But I only show Northern California artists. So I don't show, the ones that I change every quarter are usually from the Sacramento,
Yeah.
Rockland, Elk Grove area.
Okay, thank you.
Can you put desk covers on the back of canvas or not?
So people, old school was like, oh, canvas needs to breathe. You don't put dust covers. Canvas does not need to breathe. It's not human. We put dust covers on pretty much everything we do. And on canvas, we like to put, it's not on any of these are just samples. Maybe mat boards stapled on it. It depends how big it is, because the larger ones, when you move them around, you don't want anything poking through, then you rip your canvas or something.
I get strange questions to ask.
I like strange.
When you were learning from this 80-year-old master framer, what was the hardest aspect or skill that you had to learn?
Mat cutting.
So Logan Matt.
So my most expensive piece of equipment in the gallery is the computerized mat cutter, and it's worth its weight in gold. Yeah, what is, $35,000 piece of equipment.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
So that thing is mounted on a wall or something?
it's in the back now. It's on the table.
Oh, it's on a table.
Mhm. Yeah, so, yeah, it's not cheap, but again,
Worth its weight in gold.
it's worth its weight in gold, especially when you're doing multiple openings, or some unique cuts. Oh, but even the regular, it's amazing how many mats I messed up, just because or my cuts were just overcut, and it's like, oh, it's not perfect, and
So this $35,000 cut, is a use a laser cutter or a blade?
it's a blade.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a blade. There's a handful, there's 3 major companies out there that do computerized mat cutting.
So for artists, what would you recommend as an economical way? I mean, everybody wants to find a reasonable way to enter a thing, and what would you recommend for them?
So, you could get a ready-made frame and then just come into the custom frame shop and get your mat cut for it. That might be, between 20 and 40 bucks. So that at least the mat is cut properly, right, to size. That's what I would recommend.
For the artists that do show in your gallery that you pick, they send you copies of their work. If they don't use your frames, do you still show them?
Oh, yeah, they don't have to have everything framed by me. if you are going to be showing in the gallery, then we do give you 25% off if you want something framed. So, but otherwise, yeah, I have no problem with you bringing your own frames in, not at all, as long as they're not beat up. And so I'm showing a gentleman's work right now, a photographer. I framed, I don't know, half dozen of his pieces 2 months prior to the show. We brought them in, they were filthy, they were dinged up, and they're sitting home in a plastic sleeve, you know, but I mean, my jaw was dropping. It's like, I just framed these. So I had to go touch up, you know. He also had canvases unframed and stretched, and they're large, they're very large, but they are dinged up and marred. So I just contacted him and I just said, these are the show pieces, and if someone buys these, because they're not cheap, his price was pretty high. I said, I'm telling them you're going to reprint them a new piece because I can't sell this for the price you have on it. So, but yeah, take care of your work. I mean, I just can't say that enough.
Do you sell ready-made frames at all? You have like a stock of ones you've made that you can just walk in and buy off the shelf?
Well, yes and no, because we did have a bunch, but I only do ready-made 8x10 and 5x7. I don't do anything larger. However, I do have some odd size frames that I've cut from discontinued moldings that are really reduced. And I have about 100 frames that I've already cut. We have just been swamped that we can't, I think I only have like 4 ready-mades on the wall because I haven't had the time to get them out. But so hopefully this year I just hired a new framer, another framer. So we got 3, 1 full-time, 2 part-time, and then a social media person. I just have 2 new people.
Okay, a couple more entertaining questions. One is kind of a comment, and you didn't bring it up, but you do post on Instagram regularly. You show the artist's work in your gallery, and if they have a show, you show some of that stuff, and so you can tell them about that a little bit.
Yeah, and then we, so when you're showing, we get your work, and then we just started an e-commerce store on our website. However, I'm still not convinced buying art online. It's really difficult, especially if it is framed and can't take off the canvas. There's all that shipping stuff. But nevertheless, we did start the e-commerce site. So once you're an artist, we get your work up. The work goes on the front page of our website, and then linked to the e-commerce store. So if someone wants to buy it.
And
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yes.
okay, the second question, which I found interesting because I ran into this issue. Somebody was asking me to paint a large watercolor.
Mhm.
And he was talking 4 foot, 6 foot. I was thinking, what kind of paper? You're not gonna get a roll or what? And so how much that cost to frame? So I went into a frame shop and I asked him, what is the largest size watercolor you? Oh, we did one that was 6 foot. And I said, and how much did it cost? And well, that required a special museum quality acrylic thing, and it's 6 foot. And he gave me a price. I go, wow. So if you had a frame of 6 foot painting with the best quality acrylic, what would the price be?
Oh, there's so many variances in
The
frame.
highest, just so people, it just astounded me, but what would be that?
You're probably anywhere from 1,500 to 3,500.
Oh, they were asking 5,000. I mean, that blew my mind because I'm thinking this guy wants me to paint this painting, but he doesn't realize that framing is really gonna cost.
Yeah, we've done pieces as large as 11 feet by 4. And that 11 foot in, and we were framing a flag. So we had to stitch it, and so we had to buy fabric, make our own stretcher, fabric background, stitch the frame. But on that piece in particular, there's no molding that comes large enough. So I call my husband, he's pretty handy. Most of the time, he doesn't have anything to do with the gallery, except he'll pick up and help install for me. But he made this frame, you know, out of raw wood, and it came out beautiful. She was happy. But for the most part, 10 feet, 9 feet is the largest. And there just comes with a lot of, you never get paid enough, even though you think $3,000 sounds high, but when you're spending
Labor intensive.
weeks on making sure how it finagles out, because of that weight, you've got to have, you know, you've got your acrylic down, but then you've got to have bracers in there that don't show, so, you know, that this acrylic doesn't flex, and, you know, a lot of things. And 15 years still, and there's still a new project that will come in that is like, how are we gonna do that? We just had one. A gentleman bought 4 TVs, flat screen, but he's gonna put his video card or his memory card in for photos. So like a rotating photo in his hallway. So he's got 4 of them. But he wants it to be enclosed in a frame for all 4 to look sleek, right? So the mat and how to attach these and the frame, and so we had to get enough depth, we had to, you know, stack a frame. But the most difficult part was he wants to be able to use his remote. So, you know, the little infrared light, you can't cover that to make this look sleek. So we had the mat, and all my framers are good, but David's exceptional, and he was able to cut this tiny hole, rectangular, and line it up perfectly for each TV, you know, so they can use their remote, and it's like, you know, beautiful.
Okay. I'm gonna just keep it going a little bit here. So have you ever heard aluminum composite material? Do you ever frame much of that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just for everybody else, there's this painter that was part of the art studio direction. She was telling me about ACM, composite material, like Diamond, whatever. They use it for exterior signs. And it's a lightweight, like aluminum, plastic, and aluminum, like a sandwich. And this stuff is totally archival. It's meant to be on exterior buildings. And if you get gesso it, you're paying on this thing. And it's very strong. It's very permanent. And I was just wondering how the heck you frame or deal with it, or
Same way you would do, mostly a canvas, a piece. Most of the time it
You
doesn't
treat
have to
like a
go,
canvas.
yeah, you don't have to go behind, glass. If you're using acrylic or oil, so, yeah, you treat it like a canvas and stuff. You can float it, you can, traditional frame.
just to give you an idea of the price, you can get like a 4-foot, 8-foot piece, for like I don't know, 120.
A lot of, oh, sorry, a lot
Well,
of
that's-
photographers are printing on aluminum.
Yeah.
Right, so same kind of thing, for framing. It's really for photographs printed, it's a beautiful thing. But what happens is if you don't take care of it, you know, it can get dinged and scratched. But that's the same as anything, if you don't take care of it.
So that would have been my answer for that guy who wanted a 6-foot watercolor painting. Because you can mount, well, it's brushed aluminum finish inside. You're
Yeah.
not gonna paint, you're gonna paint it. But you can also mount your watercolor to this board.
But if you're mounting your watercolor to this board, then your watercolor is on paper and
Right.
therefore should be behind glass.
Right, then you have to use all those
Or
techniques,
acrylic. Yeah.
but there's techniques to get around,
there you go.
you know, with particular
I don't,
finishes, but I mean, it's not
Yeah.
the same. But I mean, I was thinking about all the ways to do it. Because,
definitely better than a large 6-foot watercolor paper that's gonna have waves in it.
and plus the glass would be the killer.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Do you repair canvases?
We do repair canvases. We do not do any repair on paper except for digital. So if you brought in a paper piece that was torn or marred, we can scan it, do the restoration in Photoshop and reprint it. We don't restore the original paper. You would need a conservator to do that. But we do restorations on canvas, tears, painting, cleaning.
So do you cut your frames yourself then?
We cut all of our.
And you don't use the chopper anymore?
No, we got a double wire saw now.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, when the first time you do that, you're off a half minute.
Yeah.
Because you didn't net it,
yeah, that's, I kept the wood chopper and I thought, oh, this might come in handy. The power goes out, well, power goes out, can't see, kind of irrelevant, but yeah, it's been in the storeroom for 15 years. I should sell it because it'd be great for somebody who
wanted
wants
to make
to.
their own.
Yeah. Very informative.
Yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
What are the hours of your gallery?
We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5. So I am closed on Sunday. And in the beginning, and even, I was open 7 days a week, but then I had, if somebody called in sick, I'm working 7 days a week, even though I'm really working 7 days a week anyway. But part of it's at home, bookwork, all of that. But about 3 years ago, I started, we bought a RV. And my husband retired 6 years ago, and he's like, I wanna travel. Okay. 3 years ago, I finally got my staff like perfect. They are incredible. So I can leave now and I don't have to worry about anything. It's heaven. It's been a life changer. So starting March through September, I take 1 week off, usually a month, and we're somewhere 1 to 2 weeks, and then we take 8 weeks in the middle of summer, and I'm gone. That requires a lot of preparation because I do my own everything. I do my own payroll. I do my own taxes. So I have to get all of that lined up to take that long trip. But otherwise, I'm planning my trips around quarter end, so I'm not gone when quarter end comes. But yeah, it's been a life changer. I work really hard, but now I play really hard. So it's kind of balancing out.
Do you do art yourself?
So after having the gallery and having artists in, I'm like, oh, I want to paint, Yeah, I got some paint and canvas, and I'm like, oh, no. I still haven't given up because I got different ideas on different types. I actually sold one piece. I did, but I think I've only done 5 pieces, and for the most part, now framing truly is my passion. I can't draw even hardly a stick frame figure, so yeah. So if I was to paint, it'd be abstract for sure. But that's, people that don't know art, and especially abstract, they're like, oh, I can do that. Like, yeah, right. You can't do that to the same level that you're seeing usually. I mean, if you're a room office, I mean, maybe you can, but for the most part, people don't give abstract artists enough credit because there is a lot of technique and design that goes into abstract work.
thought of another question for you. So, what kind of art is more popular for selling?
No, there is no answer to that question.
Okay.
It is the strangest thing. So it comes down to right person, right place, right time. So what draws someone in is either a color that they're looking for or a memory. A lot of it is a memory. Oh, I used to go to Sea Ranch with my grandparents all the time, or, oh, this reminds me of my son playing, that's most of it. So whether it's and abstracts do sell, but they don't sell any more than a landscape or a watercolor. I can tell you what sells the least though. Pastel. Yeah, I don't know why, but pastel work doesn't sell a lot. And that's a really difficult medium to work in and frame. Well, yeah,
How many artists are currently working in your store?
so we have 7 studio spaces.
Mhm.
And we have one artist that doesn't want to sell, so she's actually like a real estate agent. So she only comes in to paint paintings to put in the home she's selling. So she keeps her door closed. But we have a photographer, an oil painter, a ceramic artist that have a wall space in the back studio.
Mhm.
But we have 3 artists that come in pretty regularly and create and sell. Yeah. And we have like a long list of people waiting for the studio space. Well, I say a long list because every time one comes available, I go down the list and then nobody wants it, but so sometimes it takes a couple months, but
Did you expand to the right of your store?
we expanded to the back and right. Yeah. So when I first bought it, it was 1,500 square feet, just the main room. And that's what it looks like from outside. But now we have 8,000 square feet. So my framing space was probably from that window just across. That was where I had to cut everything. And now that's like quadruple, so, yeah, and then our studio space. So when we have our events, which we used to have often, now I'm limiting them to once. So I have the artist showing for 4 months, so we either have 1 or 2 receptions. But the gallery is big enough to, even in this time, move around comfortably. Plenty of room for social distancing regardless, which is nice.
Is there a reception, artist reception coming up?
It is in March. Is it the 25th? Is the last Saturday?
Generally the last Saturday of.
No, it works now around my schedule. So it is.
Yes, March 25th is the last. Oh, no, it's 25th. is
No, it's
Friday.
a Friday. So it's March 26th, from 2:30 to 4:30. But I welcome you all to come in, check it out. I think it's a pretty amazing space. I love the diversity of the art that we show, because it is definitely across the board. Pardon? Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's the flag on there.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Oh, and there we go. Yes.
Yeah, because,
Okay.
Thank you. That was great. We appreciate it from Zoom land. Perfect position, clear to understand. It was great.
Here.